Okay, so for this one, this is our third drawing style, and we are going to call this one construction lines. Construction lines. Using axis and ellipses. So the best way to, so make sure you put axis and ellipses there on the bottom. Okay, so when we do construction lines, like honestly, I think using the human figure as our example is the best way to kind of get started. So I'm going to draw the human figure over here. And so I'm going to start with like an egg shape here, okay? And when we think of the major axis in the body, it would be our spine. The spine, okay, so the spine is connected to the head. Looks like a floating balloon, right? So if we take this unit here and I'm going to show you how to do a little comparative looking at the same time so we can, or measuring. So I know that the bottom of the pelvis is around 4 heads down. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I need to extend this a little bit. So this is where the pelvis would be. That's a little broad in comparison to the head, but that's okay. Up here would be where your shoulders would be. So this is your major axis. These are your minor axes, and then the waist would be something like that. Okay, I want to think about the body in terms of symmetry. So what we're going to do here then is just kind of use the trapezoidal effect. All right, so we can, can't help myself but put in a neck. So here, this would be the major axis. And you can do this in pencil, it's fine. Okay, so then the shoulder, the waist, and the pelvis, those would be your minor axes. Okay, from there you would then have your limbs that would come down, and I know that the human body is kind of split in half. So the bottom of the feet are going to exist basically in that same, they're going to take up that much space. Okay, so then we can put a leg here and a leg here. We can throw out a foot, throw out another foot. We can use this line for our arm. Actually, we ran out of space for the arm, but you can just do something like that. Okay, and I have another kind of arm over here. I guess we'll put a little hand coming out like that, right? But then you can use your ellipses for actually curving out the figure. So here I will use a colored marker to illustrate this. I hope this one works okay. Yeah, good. Okay, so in the body is like a barrel in a sense. Like, so we would actually, in getting it to look more humanoid, we would then kind of create the illusion that it has those ellipse shapes as opposed to being this like very, geometric object. And so that's some basic construction lines. Now, of course, we want to probably put our knees in, and we can just put those in as simple shapes. That's how we start the human figure, and we can mass it up a little bit more if we really feel inclined. But for now, that's how you break down just like really complex objects. But let's look at a simple object and do this one, okay? I'm gonna do it, I'll have it be, I'll do this so I can, okay. I'll go ahead and just leave that right there, right on top of it. It's fine, it's not gonna, hopefully it won't go anywhere. You know what, I'll stop it from rolling. Okay, love these demos. Okay, so if we look at this object, we could give it a spine. Even though it doesn't have a core, like anything holding it in place, we could say it's a symmetrical object. So we could create a spine here. Now I'm left-handed, so bear with me. So drawing this way can be a little hard because I like to curl my hand. So this would be the spine here. We're just using that to say, hey, this is a symmetrical object, right? So that's half right there. Then what we can do is do the major axis, which would be, or the minor axis, which would be here. And we have a couple other things happening here. Let's just go for the top of that lid. This is wider than it is, actually, this is another good example. We can do some comparative looking. So the height of this is not the same as the width. Okay, so the width is, it's definitely wider on top than it is tall. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and like make that wider than that down there, and then I can do this major or minor axis right here. That would be the lid, right? And you can take the moment and you can compare and look and see. Okay, and then we have these lines happening where the threading is happening, and then it basically kind of comes and tapers down somewhat. Okay, so there we have our major axis and our minor axis, and we have our shapes on the sides, but then we can also think about the fact that this is a rounded object, so it would actually have an ellipse on the bottom. This actually lifts up a little bit. It doesn't actually lay flat, just like a bowl wouldn't lay totally flat. And then you can get the idea behind, like, oh, this is actually this is a clear object. Same thing would happen here, where you would turn that into like a circular effect. I'll make this one a little bit thicker so you can see how that would go. And then up here would kind of round out there like that. So ellipses actually are important in terms of actually shaping the object then. And hey, look. So this would be what we would do in our next drawing in our sketchbook, in our mini little book. And I'll just show you that before I start the next one.